At 6:40-2 in the morning, on May 20th, 1940-1, Sergeant Alfred Clive Hume looked up at the sky over Crete. Thousands of German Fallschirmjäger, our Jaeger paratroopers, poured from transport planes, descending like locusts over Maleme Aerodrome. 30 years old, provost sergeant for 8 months, gyro combat kills. That moment changed his life forever. Hume supervised 20-3 New Zealand soldiers at the punishment center, men caught fighting or drunk on duty. The army called them bad men. Hume knew better. They were soldiers who had made mistakes, and he needed everyone. The Germans dropped 3,000 paratroopers in the first wave, with more transports approaching the island. Some paratroopers got tangled in their cords and died before landing. Others touched down and immediately formed positions. The 20-3rd Battalion had been on Crete for less than a month. Most men had never seen combat before. Now they faced the largest airborne invasion in military history. Hume ran to the armory without hesitation. He grabbed every rifle he could carry and distributed them to the prisoners. No paperwork, no authorization. The men took the weapons without a word and followed him toward the sound of gunfire across the airfield. By noon on May 20th, Hume had led his improvised unit in 3 separate engagements near the aerodrome. The enemy brought heavy machine gun fire, mortar rounds, and constant sniper harassment across the positions. By the end of the day, 130 German bodies were counted in the area around the airfield. However, the sniper problem became critically severe within hours. German snipers were highly trained and well-equipped. They carried Mauser 90-8K rifles with 4- power scopes, perfectly suited to Crete's rugged mountain terrain. They occupied the high ground, precisely picking off allied officers, communications personnel, and machine gunners. New Zealand soldiers had no counter-sniper experience. Perceived fire only wasted ammunition and exposed their positions. By evening on May 20th, the 20-3rd Battalion had lost 17 men to sniper fire alone. The battalion commander called an urgent meeting and asked who could solve this deadly sniper problem. Hume stepped forward. He was not a sniper, had never received specialized training, never even used a scoped rifle. He proposed a plan that everyone thought was insane: wear German clothes, use a German rifle, walk up to enemy snipers. The idea came from a discovery during combat. He found a dead German paratrooper sniper on May 20th. That sniper wore a distinctive camouflage smock, the signature equipment of German paratroopers, unlike anything the Allies had. Hume pulled the smock over himself and picked up the sniper's Mauser rifle and ammunition from the ground. In the fading light, he looked no different from any German paratrooper. This was the core of his entire plan. Not long-range duels, not perceived fire, but the most primal method: walk up to the enemy and shoot first. In the early hours of May 20-1st, Hume put on the German camouflage smock for the first time and walked alone. His heart pounded like a drum, but his steps were remarkably steady as he approached the German-controlled mountains. He spotted his first target on a rigid German sniper lying behind rocks, observing New Zealand positions through his scope. Hume approached from the flank, walking at an unhurried pace, like a German soldier rotating to a new position. The sniper heard footsteps and turned to see a soldier wearing a German camouflage smock and carrying a German rifle. He hesitated for 1 second. That 1 second was all the time Hume needed to end the encounter decisively. The Mauser's bullet struck precisely at 40 yards. The sniper never even had time to raise his weapon. Hume's first sniper kill was complete. Over the next few hours, he used the same method twice more. Each time he approached from the flank, using the camouflage smock to create a brief window of hesitation before firing. By evening on May 20-1st, he had 3 confirmed kills, but this was only the beginning of his campaign. On May 20-2nd, Hume's tactics grew bolder. He began moving between German positions like a courier delivering orders. even learned a few German passwords enough to bluff his way through close encounters with enemy soldiers. That day he killed for more snipers, but the cost was a shrapnel wound to his left arm from nearby mortar fire. The medic bandaged his arm and warned that if he kept this up, the Germans would eventually see through the disguise. Hume just nodded and headed back to the ridgeline. On May 20-3rd, he set a record of 5 sniper kills. The most dangerous encounter happened around 3 in the afternoon, when he simultaneously encountered 2 German snipers. They spotted him from different directions, and one began questioning his identity in German with increasing suspicion. Hume did not hesitate. He charged the nearest sniper, killed him at close range, then spun and fired at the second. The second sniper fell before he could aim. The entire firefight lasted less than 10 seconds from start to finish. Word spread quickly through the 20-3rd Battalion. A provost sergeant was hunting snipers behind enemy lines alone. The soldiers started calling him the Ghost because wherever German snipers disappeared, a body would soon appear. But Hume knew his luck could not last forever. Every mission was a gamble with his life as the stakes. Under the Geneva Convention, combatants wearing enemy uniforms could be executed immediately as spies or saboteurs. The Germans would have been legally justified in shooting him on sight. He understood the risk, but chose to continue. On May 20-4th, Hume captured a second German camouflage smock, replacing the first one soaked with blood and mud. He also found more Mauser ammunition at a German field ration. That day he killed 3 more snipers on the ridgeline. But he nearly died when a bullet grazed his temple, leaving a deep scar across his cheek that would never fully fade. The medic warned him again, this time seriously. Hume's response was to go out the next day and kill 2 more snipers. By May 20-5th, his confirmed kill count had reached 17. Sniper casualties in the battalion dropped dramatically. The battalion commander noted in his report that counter-sniper operations had significantly improved battlefield survival rates. He did not mention Hume's specific methods, because those methods, strictly speaking, violated international law. However, the real turning point came on May 20-6th. That day, Hume received devastating news about his brother. His younger brother Harold Hume, a private in the 20-8th Maori Battalion, had been killed in action on Crete. Harold was 2 years younger than Clive. They had enlisted together from the Waikato countryside and sailed to war together. Now Harold was dead, killed on some unnamed hillside by some unknown German soldier. They did not even know where his body was. Hume's reaction was something everyone present would never forget. He did not cry, did not shout, showed no emotion. He stood there quietly, silent as a stone statue for a full 5 minutes. Then he turned and walked to the armory. On May 20-7th, Hume was like a different person. If before he was a calm hunter, now he became a beast driven by rage. That day, he alone killed 7 German snipers, setting a new single-day record that would never be matched. He was no longer content with approaching from the flank. He began actively seeking out sniper nests, walking directly into positions. The most incredible scene happened that afternoon. He discovered a position with 5 German snipers on a hillside. 5 trained snipers could suppress an entire company, but Hume did not call for reinforcements or artillery support. He put on the camouflage smock, slung the Mauser rifle, and walked straight toward that hillside alone. He got within 40 yards of the 5 snipers, then opened fire. At close range, every round from the Mauser was lethal. All 5 snipers were killed in less than a minute. Hume emptied 2 magazines and took shrapnel in his right shoulder. He gathered the snipers' ammunition and equipment, turned around, and walked back to the New Zealand positions alone. That evening, the soldiers watched the blood-covered Hume walk down from the ridge, and no one spoke a single word. They knew he had lost his brother. They knew what he had done, but they did not know what to say. Silence was the only answer. On May 20-8th, Hume killed 5 more snipers, but this time he paid a heavy price during his final operation. A German machine gunner spotted him unfired. Hume took 2 bullets in the thigh and collapsed on the hillside. He dragged his wounded leg 300 yards back to friendly lines, losing so much blood he nearly died on the way. The field surgeon performed emergency surgery and removed the bullets, but told him he needed at least 6 weeks to recover. Hume lay in the hospital bed for 3 days, then pulled out his own IV and limped out of the hospital. No one tried to stop him. By the time the Battle of Crete ended on May 30th, Hume's confirmed kill count stood at 30-3. 8 days, 30-3 German snipers, all killed during independent operations behind enemy lines using a captured rifle. After the war, Hume was awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest military honor in the entire British Commonwealth. The citation mentioned his attacks at Maleme, clearing positions at Galatas, destroying a mortar crew at Staloes, and stalking snipers. But the citation deliberately omitted one crucial detail: how he did it. The camouflage, smock and infiltration tactics were erased. British and New Zealand military authorities did not want to publicize tactics that violated international law, even effective ones. The full story only gradually emerged years after the war through veteran interviews and declassified military records. By then, Hume was decades removed from the war and had no interest in discussing the details of his service. Whenever pressed, he always gave the same answer: he saw German equipment that could help kill German snipers. He used it. But that simple answer obscured a deeper question: what kind of man could do what Hume did for 8 consecutive days? What psychological makeup allowed someone to walk toward enemy soldiers wearing their uniform, knowing discovery meant execution? Most soldiers could not maintain such a disguise for 5 minutes. Hume maintained it for 8 full days of combat operations. The answer seemed to be grief and rage channeled into absolute focus. His brother died on May 20-6th, and everything changed. In the 2 days after Harold's death, Hume killed 19 snipers. The timing was no coincidence at all. Something fundamental changed after he received the news about Harold. The tactical calculations remained, but the foundation shifted. This was no longer just about saving Allied lives. This was about making the Germans pay for what they had taken from him. That motivation probably kept him alive. Soldiers fighting for abstract principles sometimes hesitated at critical moments. When Hume walked toward those 5 German snipers and opened fire at 40 yards, he was not thinking about military doctrine. He was thinking about his brother, lying dead somewhere on this same island, never to wake again. The Battle of Crete lasted 11 days, from May 20th to May 30-1st, a desperate defense against airborne invasion. 3,500 Allied soldiers died, 12,000 were captured, and the survivors evacuated to Egypt. German casualties were also severe: 4,000 dead, 2,500 wounded, and the Fallschirmjäger, or Jäger, never recovered. Hitler began large-scale airborne operations for the rest of the war, but Germany held Crete and the Allies did not. In that context, Hume's achievement seemed insignificant: 30-3 dead snipers against thousands of casualties on both sides. But the numbers told a different story. In Hume's sector, German sniper effectiveness dropped 90% after May 20-3rd. The 20-3rd Battalion's casualty reports documented the change: 40-7 sniper deaths before, only 6 after. The difference between those numbers was Hume: 30-3 confirmed kills in 8 days, averaging slightly more than for daily. This efficiency placed Hume among the most effective counter-snipers of the entire Second World War. Soviets per Vasily's eights have killed 240- to Germans over several years on the Eastern Front during the war. Finnish per Simo Hayhawk killed 505 Soviets during the Winter War, but over a longer period with conventional methods. Hume killed 30-3 enemy snipers in 8 days while operating alone behind enemy lines using illegal deception tactics. No other documented case in the Second World War matched the combination of speed, effectiveness, and operational audacity. The German camouflage smock was the key innovation. Standard counter-minus sniper doctrine involved observation and perceive as fire. Those conventional methods were time-minus consuming, resource-minus intensive, and often ineffective against skilled snipers who relocated frequently. Hume bypassed all those steps by simply walking up to enemy snipers while appearing to be one of their own comrades. The success of this method depended on specific conditions, the chaos of the airborneness, often the dispersed nature of operations. Remove any one of those factors, and the deception would likely have failed immediately, with fatal consequences for Hume. More importantly, Hume possessed qualities that could not be taught: the psychological capacity to maintain the deception under fire, the absolute confidence required to maintain the deception under direct observation, and the instinct to know when to shoot. Most soldiers did not possess these qualities. The 20-3rd Battalion learned this lesson the hard way after Crete. Several men attempted to replicate Hume's tactics during later campaigns in North Africa. To work ill immediately. A third was captured undexecuted. The battalion then prohibited the use of enemy uniforms as too dangerous and unreliable. So Hume remained unique. Once Argent, 8 days, 30-3 dead German snipers, a tactical innovation that worked once. But for the survivors of the 20-3rd Battalion, that one unrepeatable success was more than enough to save their lives. They knew exactly how many of them would have died if Hume had not been on those ridgelines wearing a stolen German smock. After the war, military historians debated whether Hume's actions constituted a war crime under international law. Wearing enemy uniforms was illegal, but Hume did not use the disguise to commit atrocities or target civilians. He used it to eliminate enemy combatants who were killing Allied soldiers. The consensus was pragmatic acceptance. German commanders never understood what happened to their snipers. After minus action, reports noted unexplained losses. Several reports mentioned close minus, range firefights, and suspected friendly fire, but the truth was kept classified for years. After returning to New Zealand, Hume ran a trucking company in Pongakawa and rarely discussed the war with anyone. He attended Anzac Day ceremonies but never gave speeches. When the museum requested his victory, a cross, he agreed quietly. Over the years, veterans confirmed seeing Hume wearing the German camouflage smock during the Battle on Crete. Once Argent remembered Hume disappearing for days and returning with ammunition he had never been issued by the Army. In 1960-7, his son Dennis Hume won the Formula One World Drivers' Championship, making headlines worldwide. The press descended on Pongakawa, looking for the father of New Zealand's racing hero, finding a quiet trucking company manager. A man with a Victoria Cross in his drawer and no interest in talking about either racing or war with anyone. On September 2, 1980-2, Alfred Clive Hume died in Tepuke at the age of 70-1 from natural causes. He was buried at Dudley Cemetery with full military honors, his old comrades from the 2nd New Zealand Expeditionary Force as pallbearers. The funeral was brief with no eulogies and no speeches about heroism, exactly as he would have wanted it to be. His Victoria Cross remained on display at Waururu until thieves stole it along with a t'others in December 2007. A $300,000 reward was offered, and police recovered all 9 medals undamaged in February 2008. In 1950-3, a researcher asked Hume directly how he felt about killing 30-3 men during the war. Hume said he did not feel anything about it. The researcher asked if he ever thought about the Germans he had killed. Hume said he did not feel anything about them either. Then he added that he thought about his brother instead. The researcher asked if he had any regrets. Hume said his only regret was that the 30-4ths sniper got away. Every sniper he killed meant an unknown number of Allied soldiers who lived because that particular threat was eliminated. Hume saved hundreds of lives, possibly more than 1,000, through simple, brutal efficiency in 8 days of combat. Walk toward the enemy, get close, shoot first, repeat until wounded or dead. This is the story of Alfred Clive Hume, a war hero nobody wanted to promote, a tactical innovation nobody dared replicate, a legend deliberately forgotten yet impossible to erase. He never sought glory, never asked for recognition. He simply did what he believed had to be done for his fellow soldiers. In that war-torn May, a New Zealand sergeant wearing enemy clothes and carrying a dead man's rifle changed everything. History may forget his name, but the people who survived because of him continue the trajectory of life to this day. This is the extraordinary choice, an ordinary man made in an extreme moment, a silent legend worthy of eternal remembrance. A great glory belonging to an ordinary man, shining forever in the annals of silent heroes who walk among us unseen. If you want more hardcore breakdowns of history's most extraordinary soldiers, smash that like button and subscribe now. I am your military history observer, bringing you the untold stories of ordinary men who did extraordinary things in war.